Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you didn't belong? Not because you did anything wrong, but simply because of who you are? Maybe it was the color of your skin. Maybe it was your accent, your gender, your background, your financial status, or the way you looked, dressed, or prayed. Maybe people never said it outright, but their eyes said enough. The silence, the looks, the way conversations skipped over you. You felt invisible, or worse, unwelcome. And the truth is, you tried. You really did. You worked twice as hard just to prove you were worthy of a seat at the table. You gave your best in relationships, in your job, in your community, only to be overlooked, passed by, or judged from a distance. And somewhere along the way, that pain took root. It's a quiet ache, the kind of ache that doesn't always have words. It whispers things like, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'll never be accepted, or maybe something's wrong with me. If that's you today, I just want to pause and say, you're not alone. And more importantly, God sees it all. Yes, the rejection. Yes, the unfair treatment. Yes, the tears you never told anyone about. The question we're all silently asking is this: does God care about the wounds no one else notices? Does He see the pain of being excluded, of being misunderstood, of being judged before anyone even knows your story? And if He does, will He say something? Will He act? Friend, if those questions are stirring in your heart, you are in the right place. In the next few minutes, we're going to look at what Scripture says about this kind of hidden pain and what God's heart is for those who've been rejected, overlooked, or labeled less than. Because you weren't meant to carry this alone. And your story doesn't end in rejection. It begins again in the presence of a God who never pushes you away. Let's dive in. Let's talk about something the world often overlooks, but heaven never does. Rejection doesn't just hurt your feelings, it can shake your identity. But here's the truth. While people may label you, exclude you, or misunderstand you, God never does. He sees what others miss. He knows the real you. And more than that, He draws near. Psalm 147, verse 3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Not just the visible wounds, but the internal ones. The ones hidden beneath your smile, behind your success, or buried under years of silence. But the power of this truth becomes even more real when we remember Jesus Himself knows exactly what rejection feels like. Isaiah 53:3 tells us, He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Let that sink in. The Son of God, the one who came to save, was mocked, misunderstood, falsely accused, and ultimately crucified by the very people He came to love. So when you feel pushed aside, judged, or unseen, Jesus isn't just sympathetic. He's been there. He doesn't offer shallow comfort. He offers understanding that comes from experience. Let me show you what I mean through some of the most powerful stories in Scripture. Take Hagar, for example, a servant, a woman without status, used, mistreated, then cast out into the desert by those in power. She ran, not just from her problems, but from the pain of being invisible. And in the wilderness, something incredible happened. God met her, not an angel, not a prophet, God Himself. And He called her by name. Genesis 16:13 records her words, You are the God who sees me. I have now seen the one who sees me. Friend, maybe that's what your soul needs to hear today. Not another self-help mantra, not another voice telling you to toughen up, but the assurance that there is a God who sees you, a God who meets you in the wilderness and calls you by name, even when the world calls you less than. Or think about Joseph, the favored son. But that favor sparked jealousy. His own brothers threw him into a pit, sold him as a slave, and tried to erase his future. Have you ever been betrayed by people who should have supported you? That kind of wound runs deep. Yet through prison, injustice, and silence, God was working. Years later, Joseph would look into the eyes of the very brothers who betrayed him and say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. Joseph's story didn't end in the pit, and yours doesn't either. Because God doesn't just rescue the rejected, He redeems them. He takes what others meant to destroy you and uses it to elevate you. And what about Jesus Himself? Sinless, pure, perfect love in human form, and yet rejected. The crowds turned, the disciples fled. He was falsely accused, spat on, beaten, and nailed to a cross. If anyone had the right to say, "They don't understand me," it was Jesus. But here's what's wild. He still chose us. He still laid down His life. He still forgave, even while being crucified. So when you wonder if God is silent in your pain, remember this. He's not just sitting on a throne far away. He stepped into your suffering. He knows rejection firsthand. And that means when you cry, He doesn't just listen. He weeps with you. Let me say this as clearly as I can. People may not understand you. They might ignore you, judge you, reject you. But God never will. In a world that often categorizes people by race, gender, income, background, or status, God looks straight at the heart, and He says, "You are mine. You are chosen. You are seen. You are loved." Not because of what you've accomplished, but because of who He is. So today, if you feel overlooked, excluded, or invisible, remember, the one who created you sees you. The one who died for you calls you by name. And the one who rose again still defends you, even when the world turns away. Friend, I don't know how many times you've been overlooked. I don't know the number of times they passed you by, ignored your voice, dismissed your presence, or judged you before even knowing your story. But I do know this. God has never once seen you through the eyes of human prejudice. He sees you through the eyes of a Father, one who knit you together in your mother's womb, one who knows your every thought and still chooses to love you. To Him, you are not invisible. You are not second-rate. You are His child, His chosen, His beloved. Maybe the world didn't see your worth. Maybe the people you hoped would support you never showed up. Maybe you've carried the silence of rejection for so long that you began to believe it said something about who you are. But it doesn't. The silence of man does not erase the voice of God. And God has already spoken over you. He has said, "You are accepted, you are enough, and you are not alone." So today, lift your head, not because the world finally clapped for you, not because the crowd finally saw you. Lift your head because God already affirmed you. He already claimed you. And when the Creator of the universe calls you His own, that's the loudest truth in the room. So let this be your anthem today. Others may have rejected me, but God never did. And when God stands with me, no one can truly stand against me. Let that truth echo louder than the lies. Let it rewrite every narrative of not good enough and not worthy. Because the one who matters most already said, "You are mine." So don't wait for approval from those who don't understand your value. Instead, walk in the boldness of someone deeply known, fully seen, and eternally chosen. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and you are fiercely loved, just as you are.